The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
If you're building a buying, selling a home, the real estate crew's got news for you. Real Estate House Party.
With attorney Rick Carter,
Real Estate House Party.
paralegal Kathy Holsthausen,
Real Estate House Party. Come in, have fun.
and comedian Tony V. Now, here's real estate attorney Rick Carter.
Welcome and thanks for joining us here on Real Estate House Party.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. I got some quick. Don't stay right there. I got to introduce Dan
Not
first,
saying
but I
anything.
got a few questions for you.
Okay.
We got Dan Collins, Continental Funding, reverse mortgage expert. We don't have a lot of experts on this show. We can honestly say Dan is an expert in the reverse mortgage, and we're going to talk about that. But back to you. Where have you been?
It's funny.
What?
You should say reverse mortgage because it was on my brain. It was the whole time I wasn't here. I was trying to relax.
Where have you been?
I was on the beach in a roof.
Thinking of
I gotta go.
Thinking of reverse mortgages.
Is a reverse mortgage good for me? I don't know. I think I'll turn over and think about
I
it.
wish we could get an expert on reverse mortgages as I'm on my chaise lounge working your half hour a day
a night. Yeah.
And the living legend, Jonathan, from the United Studio 21 podcast, has a very good point.
What's that?
You and Kathy Holtzhaus are the same person because we never see the two of you in the same
Not
room.
allowed to ask.
We're like Michael and Janet Jackson from the 80s.
Well, we'll know if I have a malfunction in my wardrobe today. We'll know.
Oh, I thought you were going to say if you're going to extort money out of me to do a simplest task around the office, then we might know.
The a la carte method.
Dan Collins.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice.
Thanks for being here.
He's a good man.
You're not going to explain what you were doing.
I was.
We're going to leave it at that.
I was away. Look, I was 3 weeks. I was living the life I should live.
I know. I saw the videos. As you're really upset about not being on the podcast.
I was felt awful about it.
He felt awful, so he'd send me. He'd start off with the text saying, "I feel awful about this. I'll make up to this." The next text is a video of him with his hair blowing back with a big ass cigar on a boat.
Right. Sure.
And Christine Hurley supposedly was videoing.
You know,
my
my week or my time started. I was in Florida, so I've been in the warm weather for like 3.5 weeks.
So Florida's the worst place you were at,
place.
And then you upgraded from there.
And then I watched the Super Bowl in Antigua.
Okay.
And then at an
I watched football with Adi Gennaro.
Oh, nice.
Very different.
Yeah.
He's got his Cheez-Its.
Oh, he's very ritualistic that way. You got to have Cheez-Its.
We'll bring Adi. I think Adi's coming on next week.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Yes. All right. We're going to talk about his Cheez-It
And then,
problem.
and then I ended up I was in St. Bart's, St. Kitts. Then I ended up in Aruba.
Wow.
It's awful.
Those seem to come that way.
I had an odd thing. I had a couple of odd things
Go ahead.
happen. When I landed in Florida, I was doing the right thing, and I'm trying to do the right thing. So instead of taking a cab from the airport, I got a Lyft. The ride service, right?
Some of the Uber.
Similar to Uber with better politics in my head. As far as I know, no one's been sexually harassed over there at Lyft. I don't know, but I don't delve. I needed a ride, but I called. I do it on the phone, and they say your Lyft driver will be there in 3 minutes, and you wait in a certain place, and then I get an alert. It says your Lyft driver is either deaf or hard of hearing, so make sure he sees you. And I had never lived through something like that before. Should I be getting in the car? You know what I mean? I have no problem with people who are impaired working.
Right.
But should that be the job? Is my whole ride going to be me going, watch out, look out, that car's a truck. And I felt bad about it. But I go, I've never had that happen before.
This is where I live. This is where I live.
I live right here. Hello.
They're beeping.
So I just wondered if that was a good thing or not. And I don't want to put anyone out of a job. You understand? But maybe he could
Is
be
he
the
more
co-pilot.
qualified?
I don't know. Or work in the office. I don't know.
Maybe you could drive.
Maybe that's what
You probably were by the end of the trip, right?
Thanks for making it here. I'll take it.
You got us close enough.
Yeah,
I'll wrap it up.
Then I was briefly in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
That's where I caught one of my planes. And the
Okay.
way I describe San Juan, it looks exactly like Miami with less Puerto Ricans.
Okay.
That's the only way I can describe it. And I'm not saying good or bad.
Again,
I'm letting a lot of these go.
I'm simply making a statement of observation. That's all I was doing. So send your letters and emails to Tony V. Leave Rick Carter out of it.
Do we have any disclaimers on this show?
We got a ton of it.
It's time.
The views and opinions expressed by
There it is.
guests or callers of this program
I thought so. Now, while you're down there,
Lovely people, by the way. Very hospitable. All kidding aside, I had a great time. I was in Puerto Rico for all of 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I did a little sightseeing and whatever, and people couldn't have been nicer.
they're good, huh?
Yeah.
They go with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah. Because I have the thing. Well, you know what I mean? Here's the thing. Being American and looking like I do, people assume one thing about me.
Yeah.
That I'm an old fat white guy. You know what I mean? But I don't think that way.
Right.
I'm I skew much younger and much more than left.
You're Ben Affleck in the inside, right?
Yeah, right. So it takes him like a few minutes to go like, oh, okay, you're not going to yell at me for foolishness, and we'll have a conversation.
I thought for sure he was going to say homeless.
You're like Shallow Hal, right?
Yeah. If I was going to be homeless, it would be in the Caribbean.
it'd be in Aruba.
Yeah. St. Bart's is like we pulled into St. Bart's. I was on a cruise ship and doing a corporate show in the middle of this thing, and we pulled into St. Bart's, which is it's like the Playboy's.
Playground.
Yeah,
Right.
And there were no less than like a dozen, like $100 million private yachts in the harbor. It was just insane.
Yep. And you're pulling in.
And I'm pulling in. Hey, how you doing? It's me, Tony. Where can I get a good cigar? And I did. I got a nice Trinidad in St. Bart's, and I sat on the beach all by myself. And
did you ever get any cigars at Two Guys Cigar Shop out of Salem, New Hampshire?
I'm going to get some today when
okay.
I
All
walk
right.
out of here. They're right downstairs.
All right, so this is normally the time when my son tells me we have to remind people to subscribe to us,
Yes.
like us,
And it's actually a real estate show.
and to give us 5 stars. But so far, I'm not sure what they're going to subscribe to. But
What is our star rating? Because I'm all about that.
We're at least 5.
Are we 5?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because sometimes I don't know about stars. Like I saw one Boston Harbor. Boston Harbor got like some rating on like TripAdvisor or something.
What'd they get?
And it was like 4.8. And I go, what did Boston Harbor do to get 0.2 off? What could he possibly? The sunset wasn't right where exactly I thought it was going to be.
You know who it usually is? The teachers. They don't like to give perfect scores.
Oh, maybe that's it.
We've seen that before. So while you were down lounging in Aruba, you were wondering how I could get rid of my mortgages So
when is it good to get a reverse mortgage? Because I just read something about reverse mortgages.
What is a reverse mortgage? Why don't you tell us?
Well, I have to tell you, it's a government-regulated and insured reverse mortgage program that is designed for people. You have to be 62, so you're gonna have to get to 62 first.
I'll get there someday.
Or older.
I'll get there someday.
And it allows seniors.
All right, that's my first question. Husband and wife.
Yes.
The husband's 62, she's 58.
That's one of the changes that they made very recently, which is important to note because we want to keep both of the people on the deed so that if something happens to the husband, that the wife gets to stay in her house. So a couple of years ago, a little over 2 years ago, HUD made some changes to accommodate people just in that situation where we can keep the spouse the wife or the husband on the deed, even if they're under 62. But one of the married couple does have to be 62 or older.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, see, now that's good criteria for marrying a 22-year-old.
Right, because Tony's trophy looking right now.
Right,
so
right.
Tell us more. What happened in Aruba?
They're lovely people. Very friendly.
So the 62-year-old.
And don't ask me how I know this. Prostitution is legal.
Are we ready for a disclaimer again?
Not that you know, but
no, by any stretch of the imagination, no. And I don't know firsthand. I just know.
Yep. Dan started the show by thinking, I'm going to put this all over my website.
Yeah.
Promote this everywhere. I think he's thinking a different course right about now.
I'm going to work on the disclaimers on my own website.
They can edit it.
All right, so bring it back. This guy was into prostitution.
No.
And he's looking for a reverse mortgage.
I'm just saying it's different. Go ahead.
You're right.
Go with your reverse mortgage already.
We missed you, you know.
I missed you.
All right, so a 62-year-old
Yep.
can have the 58-year-old.
Yes.
So that 62-year-old dies.
Then the 58-year-old, gets to stay within the terms of mortgage, gets to stay in the house for as long as they live.
After she's done dancing.
Yeah.
After she's done doing the happy dance, she gets to stay in her house.
Is the happy dance because the spouse has died? Is that what you're saying?
I see.
Nobody wishes that, but come on.
No.
All of us, if it happened, you'd go, I feel bad. Oh, that's great.
Hence the happy dance.
Happy dance. So it's for 62 or older.
Yep.
Right? So it's like the Medicare of mortgages.
Right.
Well, actually, that's not a bad analogy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. New to this real estate, Dan? He's a well-seasoned real estate expert. He knows the analogy.
Well, the current reverse mortgage law was put into effect in 1989 by then President Reagan.
Nice.
And it was designed to help seniors stay in their house for the rest of their lives. And that's really what the premise of it was.
Right.
So
those decades or two, they were getting a little bad rap, though.
One of the reasons those changes came in 1989 was in the old days, some of the reverse mortgages that were done were proprietary reverse mortgages, but not to lose you, the banks were doing the mortgages themselves. Now what's happening is...
You didn't say 1989 as those old days.
Those old days.
You remember 89 pretty well, don't you?
I barely remember 89.
How were you in the 80s? You good?
No, the 80s are a blur. I mean, anything after 91.
When did you come around? Like 2005?
No, 91.
Oh, 91.
I hit the straight net.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That was like because Charlestown got, where I live in Charlestown, got,
by the sea.
Yeah, by the sea, by the bay.
Yep.
And it got gentrified in that 80s, from 80 to 90.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up one day, and saying to my wife, I go, where'd all the darkness come from? And she goes, if you're going to be passed out for a decade, things are going to change. And that's when I sort of started paying attention. And now we're on like the second or third wave of, the uppification, and it's just insane,
You get a lot off your chest today.
Yeah.
You feeling good?
I feel fantastic. My biggest worry is my tan's going to fade.
Before the summer.
Now
we talked about that.
I'll curse to death. So anyway, who does
all right, tell us more about the reverse mortgage.
Who does a reverse mortgage benefit, and is there anyone who shouldn't get a reverse mortgage?
Give us the exact, or not the exact, but the best reverse mortgage client you would have.
Well, it's actually changed quite a bit. There was a time that, and I've been doing reverse mortgages for about 12 years now, and only reverse mortgages. There was a time when a lot of the ones I was doing was strictly for people on a needs-based situation, and now I'm seeing more and more of it being used more as a financial planning tool, where people are trying to fit that part of their portfolio into how they're going to live the rest of their lives.
Right, and so by the numbers, how does it work?
Well, roughly you can borrow, and again, that roughly is about half of whatever the value of your house is. So if you have a $400,000
the equity or the house itself,
of the value of the total value of the house. So
if you got a $500,000 home, you can borrow $250,000.
Yep, that's fair.
And they just give you that.
It's really a loan. It's just a lot of times people don't understand that a reverse mortgage isn't that complicated. It is just a mortgage on the house. It just has the great caveat that while you live in that house, you don't have to make payments on the house. So the interest is accruing on the mortgage.
Is this turning out nice or what?
It is too bad I like my children. That's all I'm thinking right now. It's a good thing I like my children. I hope they're listening.
So let's talk about that. So what's the maximum? What can you go up to?
As far as
a mortgage amount, say Tony V owns.
Say you had a place in Charlestown.
Let's talk about a hypothetically. We're at 1.5,
7. Say
it's probably gone up since we started the show. I got to tell you that.
Well, not to get too far into the weeds, but HUD doesn't insure anything over $679,000, so it'd be roughly half of that.
Half of $600 grand.
That's right. So your kids, you can't get that much money out of your one.
So we can all be happy, is what you're saying.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. I can't spend it all, and I can have half of what is mine.
All right. What would Tony's income requirements be to do this loan?
It's very limited on a reverse mortgage. What you need to do is to have enough income either from the reverse mortgage, because you get income from it, or your own income from whatever your assets are, Social Security or any other assets. You just need to have enough to pay your taxes and your insurance on the property. That's one of the changes.
You're making no payments. None.
None.
0 payments.
As long as you live in that house.
As long as I live in that house.
Yeah.
Now, what happens?
Go ahead. No.
That's a good question. Next.
Yeah.
I like this.
What happens when I'm no longer living in my house?
No, because everybody asked the question. So I saw that one come.
If I die, that's a win for everybody. When I die.
It depends on how long you live.
Right.
No, if your house is, I'm not kidding, if your house is worth over $1 million, there's always going to be some equity left in the house when you die.
All right, so if the mortgagor dies, how long do they have to pay off the loan then, right? Or the estate has to pay off?
The estate pays off.
So whoever your kids are, the ones you liked, you know what I mean, you gave the house to, they have technically in the mortgage 6 months with 2 3-month extensions. So they have about a year to do something with the house.
Okay.
If you have a regular mortgage on a house, you have to do something with that mortgage also. So it's not any different than that. It's just a payoff on the house.
And what do most people use the reverse mortgage for? I mean, I've seen somewhere they just taking out the loan to make sure they're paying their taxes.
Maintenance taxes. You know, you were saying stuff earlier about places getting gentrified, and what's gone attached to that is a lot of the real estate taxes have gone up. New Hampshire's pretty high too. So a lot of times we're finding that people are getting priced out of their homes actually just from regular costs that are associated with the house.
Oh yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of houses, just like even here in New Hampshire, some people are paying at least $1,000 a month just in real estate taxes. So if you get to the point of your life when you're retiring and you're on a fixed income, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot.
I'm at that point right now.
Fixed income?
No, not wanting to pay my taxes at all. I'll tell you that right now. I'd love to have a program.
Don't get me started on as far as I'm concerned, all we do is pay taxes. I go to the gas station, my gas is taxed. I buy food, that's taxed. I buy clothing, that's taxed. Everything's taxed. I don't know how much money is mine, actually.
Right.
So, and getting back to the mortgage, though, so in reality, there should be enough money left in that house to pay it off anyway.
It depends on how long you lived. If you took the loan out at 60, it's designed for there to be enough equity in the property to offset the interest that's accruing in the loan.
I see.
So that's why you can only start at 50%. So if you took it out at 62 and you had a $500,000 house, you took out a $250,000 reverse mortgage, and you lived to 92, in theory you could outlive the value of the property. You could, if you lived for 30 more years, because you would have had a $250,000 mortgage without a mortgage payment for 30 years. So
there's a question I get. So the heirs at law they're not strapped with that if they do outlive that mortgage.
No, what I tell people, and it's accurate, is the heirs have all the rights to ownership of the property, but not all the responsibility. And what I mean by that is if there's equity left in the property,
they get it.
They can sell the house and realize the profit in the house.
And if there's not?
And if there's not, they can say it's not my mortgage, and
we'll just walk away from it
because they're not the borrower, and they never were the borrower.
Have a nice
right.
You know what I mean?
So what's different ways that people could take the money out? Like, is it fixed? Is it equity?
That's a great question because it is different for every single person that I deal with. So some people will take a lump sum out of the house. It's not that common or necessarily advised. It depends on if there's a specific reason they were looking to get a larger lump sum of money. The vast majority of people are either paying off a first mortgage that still exists,
right,
or they're taking a monthly income. We call it a 10-year income, and that's for the rest of their life. They would get, if you're getting $700 a month, you'd be getting that forever until you died.
Until you die.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay. Are you making payments on the loan?
No, you don't. You're getting money in. It's the other way around. So each month you get a mortgage statement and money coming to you.
Yeah. Wow.
So those programs, when you're doing a 10-year payment and you're on the younger side of it, you can beat the bank on those.
If you're a young 62.
That's right. Depends. It depends on how rough the 80s were.
Right. Oh, they're going to catch up with you. Trust me.
It would be nice. I wonder if you have this program, because we're seeing this a lot, where someone can't buy a house because they haven't sold their other house and they have all the equity in the other house. Is it possible to buy that second house through a reverse mortgage?
Well, that's a good question because really the reverse mortgage can only be on your primary residence.
Okay.
So
when you take that 250 grand, say, could you buy another property with that money?
That's a very common use of a reverse mortgage. I've done that a lot in New England, where people will say they have a $500,000 house in Massachusetts or New Hampshire, and they take out a reverse mortgage to buy a condo, let's say down in Florida.
Yep. Right.
So now they have the house in New England that they don't have a mortgage payment on.
And they have
a mortgage, they have a reverse mortgage, but not a mortgage payment. And then they get to buy the house wherever. I'm just using Florida as an example. But they buy that house in Florida, and now they don't have a mortgage payment on that one because they own it outright.
Right.
Sure.
And a lot of my...
So that's what I was saying. So that second house would be their principal residence now, so they'd qualify, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the main qualifications of a...
Yes, it has to be your primary residence, but you can buy a second residence from the assets of your first.
So you can do anything with that money.
They can. You can. You're borrowing the money. Oh, dear.
It's getting better and better.
You can see the wheels spinning. You can smell something working up there.
I know. I'm getting nervous
We're already
over
talking
here.
about the trophy wife, the prostitution is out of Aruba, the decadent 90s and 80s. I think
you're having flashbacks.
Yeah, I mean, when you say actuarially speaking, I'm not going to make it till 70. So why not live a little?
Go out with a bang.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that guy? I don't know, but he died happy.
A lot of my clients will say that it's nice to have the second home down in Florida for their kids because if they inherit that, they're inheriting something else.
Kids. I'll tell you that right now.
Right, that's just what they're telling them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a deadbeat. You got a house. Shut up.
That's right.
Shut up and eat your pudding.
All right, so counseling's involved. It's a very rigid process.
It is. A reverse mortgage is the most regulated mortgage product that you can get. It's regulated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's insured by the Federal Housing Administration. But one of the things that happens, I go to talk to the clients and I figure out what their situation is, what they're looking to try to do, and then after we get through that process, you have to do what's called mandatory reverse mortgage counseling by a HUD-approved counselor. So that's a third-party event, and the government wants that.
Is that to make it so whatever the bad part of it before was?
To make sure that the person is getting good advice.
And they understand what they're getting into.
That's correct. Right. That's really correct.
Yeah. So
because as you age, you're prone to scams.
Well, no,
that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So people can walk in and go, "Hey, this is a good deal," and you go, "All right," you sign it. I mean,
right.
We went through that with my dad. Every other week there was some cockamamie guy.
Someone looking.
No, it's really elder financial abuse. They call that. That's the term for it. And it's real.
It's a real thing.
Oh, it's a real thing, and it's very common. And there's a lot of people that prey on people that are elderly.
Yeah,
not because they're not in reverse mortgages necessarily. In all financial.
No, right. But I'm saying that right. So this HUD counselor is to make sure that they understand what's going on and
how it works. Again,
could anyone override it? I mean,
I have not. Well, the way I can speak for myself, I've never had anybody that sat with me, because if I don't think it's the right, sincerely, if I don't think it's a fit and it's not the right thing,
it's not gonna.
We stop it right at the very beginning and say this isn't this isn't the right answer to whatever the situation is.
Right.
But I've never myself had anybody go to counseling and then not do it. But I have to assume it has happened.
Why would it not be a good fit? What have you seen?
Well, it depends. By the time they get to me, there's a reason they came. There's a reason that a financial advisor, an attorney, or somebody has referred them to me that they're seeing something where it does work. But there would be no particular reason why you would do a reverse mortgage if you have a lot of other assets and it's.
Well, sometimes people want to use a reverse mortgage because they don't want to tap into those other assets, right?
Well, you can. That's where I do get some, advisors that'll say stuff like that, because if you're taking money out of other parts of your estate and there's taxable events going on, et cetera, it may be a better idea. And I don't go down that road too far because I'm not a licensed financial planner.
Right.
But when it comes over to my court, I'm licensed to do what I do.
There's probably one of the reasons you would not give a reverse or want to have the person take a reverse mortgage if they were rolling that into some other investments.
Several years ago, they put in very tight regulations around some things that were going on. And this is back to that elder financial abuse.
Right.
There were a couple of cases in California, that happened where people were selling people on reverse mortgages and having them put it into annuities that had 30-year maturity rates. You're selling a reverse mortgage to somebody that's 85 years old, and then there's penalties if you don't
live
to the end of it. And those were high commission products for whoever. I don't sell those things, but whoever was selling it. So that after all that went down, that's when a lot more regulations came in.
That's where they got the bad rap.
Yeah, especially
unscrupulous people.
I think in your forms you actually have that in there.
Very much so.
Where you can't, they have to disclose to you if that's what they're using that money for.
You can do it. Nobody can stop you from doing whatever you want with your money. But boy, there's disclosures all over the place.
Right. So somebody would catch it if.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why would someone get rejected for a reverse mortgage? What are the obstacles?
The way you could get, if the property type is, if your house is falling apart or something, everybody's borrowing against a house. That would be the same with a forward mortgage, but that's one reason you might not do it.
Too much money, not enough house.
If you don't have enough residual income meaning enough income outside of a mortgage to pay the taxes and insurance and your basic utilities, you might not qualify that way. The bar's pretty low on that because it just is. It depends on what your tax burden is, but those are some of the reasons you could get turned down. It's not before they ever got into the process. I would flag any of that stuff that I saw that wasn't going to make.
So you flag it in the beginning. The counseling certainly helps.
Yep,
and that's required of each reverse mortgage.
Yeah, that's mandatory. That's not.
And there's a 3-day right of rescission, I imagine, on these mortgages. So if you do the loan and then you bring all those papers to your financial planner, your accountant, your attorney, and they say this doesn't make sense. They have 3 days to get out of that.
And that's federal law for all mortgages, and reverse mortgages fall.
See, this is where the 22-year-old wife comes in. She can explain things to you, so you understand.
That's right. No, believe me, it's a good idea.
It's a good idea, right? Right, honey. Whatever you say, honey. Yes, honey. 22, of course. I mean, because you run into this, and I'm not. Pretending to be older than I am. But as you age, stuff stops making sense to you. The world continues to grow.
Or it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But then the world keeps changing underneath you.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, a small example, the other couple weeks ago, before I left, I had to go downtown Boston.
Yep.
And I pulled up, there was a parking spot, I got a meter. Yeah. And me, in my head, I put a quarter in the meter and I go about my business.
Yeah.
I put a quarter in the meter. I got 4 minutes on a meter. 4 minutes. There is nothing you can do in downtown Boston for 4 minutes.
Right.
Except go find another quarter. and
then it's going to take you 4 minutes to do it.
Do that. And then it becomes this endless loop of just finding money.
You're almost out of there. You got to come running back.
Right. And then I understand you're supposed to put, people use their credit cards in. But now I'm paying, parking lot prices to pay to park on the street. I'm going, when did that happen? So this is why
a lot off his chest today.
This is why you have to,
Yeah, things aren't making sense.
They don't make sense. That's why you need counselors and people know what's going on who understand these things to explain it to us feeble old people.
Well, I was in since we're getting this stuff all our chest. I was in a pizza place the other day. I gave them a 50.
Yeah.
And the girl gave me change. I said, I gave you 50. She goes, oh, I'm sorry. When I took that money, I only go by color, so I thought it was a $10 bill. I said,
go by color?
Isn't all?
This is how they're teaching money in schools now?
She was dumbfounded. I go, correct me if isn't it all green?
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, it's different shades of green. I said, you know what?
Yeah.
This is going nowhere.
Yeah.
So
this conversation's over.
Yeah. The hell with looking at the numbers. That's crazy talk.
All right, so we'll wrap up. The advantages, you think, pretty much, is you probably could free up some money, right? It probably could be a tool for financial reasons, right? I've actually heard this before. If you don't use that money, that value of that reverse mortgage might actually increase.
Yep. If you have a credit line that you don't use on a reverse mortgage, a unique thing in a reverse mortgage, there's a thing called a credit line growth rate. So the amount of equity that's available grows over time if you don't use it.
So if the equity in the house keeps going up,
it's not attached to that. But let's say you took out a line of credit for $100,000.
Right.
Just as an even number. Yeah. And if you didn't use that line of credit within that given year, it might grow to say $105,000. You're not earning money. It's just the amount of equity that you're allowed to access goes up.
Tap into. So.
If you take the money out, it doesn't grow that way.
I see.
All right, so you can take out some cash. It might actually be a financial tool down the road. You actually could purchase a house with it.
Yep, purchasing a house is relatively new, not brand new, but in the last 7 or 8 years in the program, it's new. They used to not allow you to purchase homes with a reverse mortgage. That's a untapped area that if you were 62 and older and you were downsizing, using a reverse mortgage is fabulous.
And the biggest thing is you eliminate mortgage payments, right?
Yep. Well, that's the biggest thing. Because I have most of my clients, that's what we're doing. We're getting rid of an existing mortgage.
So Dan Collins and Tony V, how do they get a hold of you? They want to ask you more reverse mortgage questions.
Can I ask one? Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
We have time?
Yeah, we have time.
When does the loan get satisfied? Or how does it?
It's called a maturity event. What that means is if you leave the house for more than 12 months or you pass away.
Okay.
So that's the answer.
Well, if you pass away, you're leaving for way more than 12 months. That guy's not coming back. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to talk about that.
Hey, we haven't got his last mortgage payment.
Yes, you
have.
If anybody has any other questions about reverse mortgages, I can be reached at 978-239-8446.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions about foolishness, I can be reached at TonyVComic.net.
This is Attorney Rick Carter. Thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate House Party. We hope we have Kathy Holzhauser back next week.
Yes,
we're out in January next week. And like us, give us 5 stars, and subscribe to us by Ryan Carter. Just go crazy. Yeah. All right? Thanks for joining us. I feel a lot better. I know all about reverse mortgage.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you next week.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.